So let's talk about the anchor pin and the anchor trolley and how much of a benefit it is when you're out here fishing as far as positioning goes. So the anchor trolley, it's either installed on the left or the right of your kayak, and where it is installed is highly going to depend on your style of fishing. So I fish with the rod in my right hand. So if I'm fighting a fish or if I'm retrieving a lure and I need to anchor up really quick, let's say I see a school of fish up here and I don't want to drift down anymore, so I can keep my rod in my hand, anchor trolley's on the right, anchor pins, or anchor trolley's on the left rather, and the anchor pin's on the left. So I can keep my rod in my hand, grab the anchor, and anchor up really quick without having to put the rod down. So that determines which side of the kayak you want to install your anchor trolley. Now with the anchor trolley, you can easily change your position to have the anchor pretty much anywhere along the side of the kayak from front to back. So if you want to be facing into the current or facing into the wind, you can easily slide the rope up to the front, and the connection point for your anchor is now at the front or the bow of the kayak. So as that wind's coming at me, now I'm going to slowly drift down here, as you can see, and now I'm anchored from the front, and now I'm facing into the wind. And just the opposite, if I want to be facing down or have the wind at my back, I would slide that anchor point to the rear of the kayak, like so. And now as the wind blows me down this way, I'm going to start facing downwind. So that's a good benefit of having an anchor trolley, because you can change your position depending on where you want the anchor. Now without the anchor trolley, you'll usually have your anchor tied onto somewhere on the kayak, and it would be a pain to have to move it or untie it while you're trying to fish. So that's a good benefit of the anchor trolley. You can quickly change the direction you're facing just by simply pulling on the rope, and it just slides on the pulleys that are installed on the kayak. Now as far as the anchor itself, anchor pin is really good if you're fishing shallow flats, anywhere from 4 to 5 feet or shallower. And also it has to be soft muddy bottom, because if it's really tough hard bottom, oyster beds or anything like that, you can't get the anchor pin down into the ground. Also, when you do tie off to your anchor pin, I do not recommend tying off to the very top of it, because what will happen is that anchor pin will pull over as you are drifting, or if the wind's pushing you. If you're tied off to the top, it'll just pull the anchor pin over, and then your anchor will pop out. So I like to keep the rope loose on there. That way it can slide down pretty much to water level. I also have a rubber stopper on there. You can make one yourself. Just cut a piece of rubber, put it on the anchor pin, make sure it's snug, it doesn't slide freely. Or you can take a small piece of pool noodle and zip tie it to it, and that just keeps the rope from actually sliding off the anchor pin if it does happen to fall over. So I'll usually keep it about mid-length on the anchor pin. That keeps that rope from sliding all the way down. And when you anchor up, you can see that rope is level with the water, and it won't pull that anchor pin over because it's more closer to the bottom. Also, what you'll notice here, how I have it connected to the anchor trolley is with a little carabiner, stainless steel. That way it doesn't corrode or rust. That way you can quickly disconnect, just in case maybe the anchor pin is stuck and you can't get it out quick enough, or in case of an emergency, you can quickly disconnect that, like so. And I only use about 4 to 5 feet of rope. You don't need a long piece of rope on there, just a short piece of rope, and that keeps you anchored up. That way you don't have to pull in a bunch of rope when you try to pull your anchor up. Now if you need to keep your positioning in place, let's say you want the anchor pin or the anchor trolley right there in that position, and you don't want to have it slide anymore, you can lock it in. As you can see here, there's a little cleat that usually comes with these kits, and you can lock it in there. That way your anchor pin stays in position and it doesn't slide freely up and down. So that's how you keep the anchor pin in place, or the wherever your anchor point is in place. Now if you're in an area where you can't use the anchor pin, maybe the bottom is too hard or too rough and you can't get the pin in the bottom, you always want to have either a claw style anchor or a grapnel style anchor, and you can still use it on the anchor trolley the same way. It's just more suited for those harder, more rocky bottoms. That way you can hold in place, because the anchor pin really won't work unless it's nice, soft, muddy bottom. Now lastly, I just want to demonstrate how I store my anchor pin on the kayak for efficiency and also for stealth. That way I'm not making a lot of noise. As you can see here, I have, these are actually paddle holders made by Yak Attack. They're called Roto Grip paddle holders. Now they don't securely keep this locked into place, but it does give somewhere to lay the anchor pin down onto, so it doesn't fall over or fall out of the kayak. So as you can see there, it's laying in those paddle holders, and if I need to secure it, I'll just use a piece of Velcro and I can strap it around this little post here. But it'll highly depend on the type of kayak you have, but usually you can buy these little slide tracks and you can install them on your kayak. Just screw them in and then put these paddle holders on there, and it gives somewhere to lay that anchor pin down, and that way it makes it easier to access it. As you can see, it's nice and quiet to pick it up, and you can quickly anchor up, and then when you're done, just lay it back down.
Now, if you're looking to up your game with inshore kayak fishing, be sure to check out our online fishing school, which is now completely free to the public. We have everything from beginner to advanced level, so a little bit of everything out there to suit your needs. Check it out at saltstrong.com/school, or you can click the link down below. Lastly, if you have any questions or comments on this video, be sure to drop them down below.